Aligay Lingappa, Assistant Professor in Physics, Government Postgrad College, Sirigupa. Today's my chapter is Mechanical Properties of Materials. So, now I will discuss about the mechanical property such as fatigue. Then what we know that the mechanical properties so called for the engineering product or application we must need for the study of the mechanical properties of a material. That means to finalize the material of an engineering product or application, it is important to understand the mechanical properties of the materials. The mechanical properties of a material are those which affect the mechanical strength and ability of a material to be molded in a suitable shape. So what we know that what we used in our regular life, some of the engineering equipments or instruments, they are all made up of based on their properties or characteristics, so called engineering design. So for the purpose of engineering design or engineering applications for various fields, we must need the study of mechanical properties of the materials. So here given some of the mechanical properties of the materials. So strength, toughness, hardness, hardenability, brittleness, malleability, ductility, creep and slip, resilience, fatigue. So these are the some of the mechanical properties of the material we must need for designing the various engineering products or applications. So now let us discuss about material fatigue. What is material fatigue? What are the different types of fatigue? How the fatigue that can be reduced? What are the different testing of fatigue and all those things? So material fatigue is a phenomenon where structures fail when subjected to a cyclic load. If suppose the object or any engineering product, if it is subjected to cyclic load, cyclic stress, cyclic external forces, so then the engineering product it fails to perform its function after several cyclic load or stress or external forces. So this type of structural damage occurs even when the experienced stress range is far low the static material strength. The fatigue is the most common source behind failures of mechanical structures. So fatigue it is a property, that means the mechanical property of the substance. So is the most common source behind the failure of mechanical structures, mechanical equipments, engineering products. They process until a component finally fails and a repeated loading can be divided into three stages. The process until a component finally fails under the repeated loading, under the repeated stress or external forces can be divided into three stages. So during a large number of cycles or cyclic load, the damage develops on the microscopic level and grows until a macroscopic crack is formed. So during the large number of cycles or cyclic load or stress, maybe a damage develops on the microscopic level as a line, a small line. And it grows until a macroscopic crack is formed. So this is what the first stage of the fatigue. Then the next stage, the fatigue, that means the macroscopic crack, grows for each cycle until it reaches a critical length. So that is the wonderful stage. So a macroscopic crack, initially microscopic in level, then it grows up, it becomes a macroscopic crack. Further, the macroscopic crack grows up or for each cycle until it reaches a critical length, goes on increases its length. So the cracked component, then the third stage, the cracked component breaks because it can no longer sustain the peak load. So first step, so microscopic level, then it further develops to macroscopic stage, then macroscopic crack grows for each cycle until it reaches a critical length. Then further, the cracked component breaks because it can no longer sustain the peak load. So this is what the fatigue occur from initial stage to final stage of fatigue. So that means which has three important stages. For a certain applications, the second stage cannot be observed. A macroscopic crack instead grows rapidly, causing sudden failure of the component. So in some cases, in case of some mechanical engines, the second stage cannot be observed because a macroscopic crack instead grows rapidly, causing sudden failure of the component. The details of the last two stages are usually considered within the topic of fracture mechanics. The term fatigue applies mainly to the first stage. There is, however, some overlap between the disciplines and the measured number of cycles to fatigue often includes the last two stages as well. Because the largest part of the component's life is spent before it is possible to observe a macroscopic crack. Most designs aim to avoid encountering such damage. So that means the number of cyclic load or cyclic stress which causes fatigue, which causes a macroscopic crack. So here given some of the things about fatigue. It is a type of damage or failure in the materials. Fatigue means it is a type of damage or failure in the materials or in some mechanical engines, some in mechanical equipments, and so on. Which is caused by fluctuating or cyclic stresses. Usually the macroscopic crack which causes due to cyclic load, cyclic stresses, cyclic external forces acting on it, or they fluctuating the part of the engine. So because of that, fatigue is caused by fluctuating or cyclic stresses. Under the effect of fluctuating stress, a point comes where the material is fluctuated. This level of stress is called fatigue. Stress and failure is called fatigue failure. Under the effect of fluctuating stress or cyclic stresses, so a point comes where the material is fluctuated. That means this level of stress is called a fatigue stress, and failure is called fatigue failure. That means this is the third concept related to the fatigue. Fatigue stress is much lower than the yield stress or tensile stress. So what we know that yield stress or tensile stress means? It is a stress up to which the body which exhibits the elastic property. Behind that yield stress, the body which loses its elastic property, then which exhibit plastic property. That means the property of plasticity. So that fatigue stress is much lower than the yield stress or tensile stress. Then fatigue failure is caused by initiation and propagation cracks, and a fracture surface is perpendicular to the direction of an applied tensile stress. So here the fatigue failure is caused by initiation and propagation cracks. So that it is a moment of causing crack, and a fracture surface is perpendicular to the direction of an applied tensile stress. So that means the fracture surface and tensile stress, so that the stress acting at that surface, they are mutually perpendicular to each other. So then it is a brittle like in nature, even ductile materials. So here brittle and ductile materials, they can be studied in the next class. So here ductile fracture means the fracture caused after a plastic deformation. So what do we know that? So-called the body which exhibit the elastic property up to certain maximum stress. So behind that point, the body which exhibits the property of plasticity. Under that condition, so the fracture caused after plastic deformation is known as a ductile fracture. So brittle fracture means the fracture caused without any appreciable plastic deformation. So called the difference between ductile fracture and brittle fracture. Then a cyclic process, three different stress time modes are possible. The stress can be axial, tension compression, bending or torsional in nature. So you see that stress versus time graph, where that gives, that is the sinusoidal graph that indicates the cyclic load or stress or external forces acting on the material, where sigma m that indicates the maximum stress acting on the surface, sigma min that indicates the minimum stress acting on the surface, sigma maximum, that means the maximum stress or maximum cyclic stress, maximum cyclic load acting on the surface of the material, sigma minimum that indicates the minimum stress acting on the surface. So reversed stress cycle. Tensile stress applied on a sample released. Compressive stress applied and then released. So example, bending load applied to a rotating shaft axle of vehicles. So this is called what about a reversed stress cycle. This is type A mode. That means reversed stress cycle. In this case, a tensile stress applied to on a sample and then released, then a compressive stress applied, then again released. So here the bending load applied to a rotating shaft, so axle of vehicles, good examples for a reversed stress cycle. Then a repeated stress cycle, this is called a type mode, type B mode. The maxima and minima are asymmetrically related to the zero stress level. It is termed as a repeated stress cycle. So the cycle or the cycling load on a cantilever beam depending upon the residual stresses inside the materials. What about the cycling load or the cycling stress on a cantilever beam? So depending upon the residual stresses inside the materials. So this is the example for a repeated stress cycle. So now third, so type C mode, a spectrum loading. The stress level vary randomly in amplitude and frequency. So where the stress level varies randomly in amplitude and frequency, that mode is called a spectrum type C mode or a spectrum loading. Suspension wires in a railroad bridge. There must be a change randomly in amplitude and frequency. Wires carry the weight of the bridge under static tensile load. Additional load when train is on a bridge. So the suspension wires in a railroad bridge, where which undergoes the cyclic, that means randomly whatever the stress acting on that wires, which varies randomly in amplitude and frequency. So such mode is called a type C mode. That type of loading is called a spectrum loading. So now let us discuss about SN curve. So the specimen is subject to cyclic stress at a large maximum stress amplitude. This large maximum stress is usually taken 2/3 of the static tensile strength. So finally the number of cycles to be failure is counted. Then the other specimen are taken of the same material and dimensions and are subjected to the same procedure but at progressively decreasing maximum stress amplitudes. Then data are plotted as stress S versus to the logarithm of the number of cycles to failure for each specimen. So here the SN curve means stress S versus the logarithm of the number of cycles, cyclic load or cyclic stress. Now the specimen is subjected to the cyclic stress or load at a large maximum stress amplitude. So this large maximum stress is usually taken 2/3 of the static tensile strength. Then finally the number of cycles to the failure is counted. Then other specimens are taken of the same material and dimensions and are subjected to the same procedure but at a progressively decreasing maximum stress amplitudes. Then the data which are plotted as stress S versus the logarithm of the number of cycles to failure for each specimen. The value of S are normally taken as a stress amplitude or differently sigma maximum and sigma minimum values can also be used. So here the a curve showing a fatigue limit as shown in the figure 1. So where the graph which can be plotted stress amplitude versus cyclic for failure, that means S versus N curve. Here look at the curve, the nature of the curve which obtained when you plot stress versus the number of cycles. As the number of cycles increases, so look at the stress amplitude goes on decreases, then it can reaches the fatigue limit and then it becomes a constant. So then the next curve, a curve that does not show a fatigue limit as shown in the figure 2. A stress amplitude and then the number of cycles that can be drawn, fatigue strength for N1 cycles. So these are the two associations. Here in the first graph there must be maximum stress is applied to the material. In the second graph the same material, same dimension, but the maximum amplitude stress is lower, goes on decreases. That's what the differences between that means the two curves. A curve, that means the figure 1 which indicates a curve showing a fatigue limit, and the curve, that means the figure 2, a curve that does not show a fatigue limit as shown in the second diagram. So that means the variation of stress amplitude versus number of cycles or number of cyclic load applied to the surface of the materials. So then what are fatigue limits? For some ferrous and titanium alloys, the SN curve becomes a horizontal at a higher N values. This is called fatigue limit or endurance limit. This fatigue limit actually represents the maximum value of cyclic stress, below which the fatigue will not occur for an infinite number of cycles. So here fatigue limit means for some ferrous and titanium alloys, the SN curve becomes horizontal at a higher N values. This shows that this is called fatigue limit. This is called fatigue limit. Then what is fatigue limit? The fatigue limit actually represents the maximum value of cyclic stress or cyclic load or cyclic external force per unit area, below which the fatigue will not occur for an infinite number of cycles, so called fatigue limit. For many steels, the fatigue limit ranges between 35% to 60% of the tensile strength. So here the comparison between the fatigue limit and the tensile strength of the same material, so called, here given one example, so called steel. For many steels, the fatigue limit ranges between 34% to 60% of tensile strength. So the fatigue limit range is different for different materials. So now let us discuss about fatigue strength. Many non-ferrous alloys like aluminium, copper, magnesium, they do not have fatigue limit. Their SN curve continues downward, trended increasing the number of cycles. So thus fatigue is inevitable for these alloys regardless of the amplitude of the stress. The fatigue response of these materials is specified by fatigue strength. It is defined as the magnitude of the stress at which a failure will occur for some specified number of cycles. Here fatigue strength means it is defined as the magnitude of the stress at which failure will occur for some specified number of cycles. So in case of non-ferrous alloys, where the fatigue failure which occur when the number of cycles must be approximately equal to 10⁻⁷. So then now let us discuss about the characteristics of fatigue. In metals and alloys, the process starts with dislocation movements, eventually forming persistent slip bands that nucleate short cracks. So in metals and alloys, the process starts with the dislocation movements, eventually forming persistent slip bands that nucleate short cracks. Fatigue is a stochastic process, often showing considerable scatter even in controlled environments. The greater the applied stress range, the shorter the life. So that means the greater the applied stress, more applied stress range than the object or the surface of the material which a failure suddenly in short range. That means they have short lifetime. Fatigue life scatter tends to increase for longer fatigue lives. So damage is cumulative. Materials do not recover when arrested. So they are the characteristics of fatigue. Fatigue life is influenced by a variety of factors such as temperature, surface finishing, microstructure, a presence of oxidizing or inert chemicals, residual stresses, contacts, so etc. So that means the fatigue life, the life of the substance or the surfaces or materials under fatigue, so influenced by a variety of factors. So there are the factor temperature, surface finishing of the material, then microscopic structure of the material, presence of oxidizing or inert chemicals in that surface, residual stresses on contact petting. So these are the factors which are affecting the fatigue life. So some of the materials, say some steel and titanium alloys, exhibit a theoretical fatigue limit below which continued loading does not lead to structural failure. So in nature, some of the materials, say some steel and titanium alloys, they can exhibit a theoretical fatigue limit, only theoretical fatigue limit. They cannot exhibit a practical fatigue limit. Even below that theoretical fatigue limit, below which the continued loading that does not lead to structural failure. So these are some of the characteristics or properties of fatigue. So now the theoretical strength of a crystalline material is sigma theoretical, which is equal to root of y gamma by r naught, where y is the Young's modulus of the material, gamma is the surface energy, r naught the equilibrium distance between the atomic centers. Then sigma elliptical crack, which is equal to sigma applied into 1 plus 2 root of a by rho, then which is equal to sigma applied root of a by rho, where sigma applied is the loading stress, a is the half length of the crack, and rho is the radius of curvature of the crack tip. Putting these two equations together, then we will get sigma fracture, which is equal to root of y gamma rho by 4a r naught. So here given some of the definitions related to the fatigue fractures or something. Say alternating stress, mean stress, which is equal to sigma m, sigma maximum plus sigma minimum by 2. Pure sine wave, which is equal to mean stress is equal to 0. Stress ratio, which is equal to sigma maximum by sigma minimum, the maximum stress by minimum stress. For sigma m is equal to 0, then r is equal to -1. amplitude ratio A is equal to 1 minus R by 1 plus R. Then a statistical approach shows significant distribution in NF for a given stress. So these are some of the concepts for fatigue. So look here, they given some of the diagrams are related to the some of the diagrams related to the fatigue. So see the first diagram, then what about the fatigue occur in that case, then the second one, third one, so then in the rod, then the wheel. So in the, I think different materials. That means the fatigue which occur in different materials. It is a number of cycles to cause failure at a specified stress level. So in this case we discussed about fatigue, that means the mechanical properties of the materials, list of mechanical properties of the materials, fatigue, different stages of fatigue, then how the fatigue which occur, then how the fatigue failure appeared. So in the parts of the machine, then examples for fatigue, then a SN curve, the significance of stress and number of cycle curve, and then some of the definitions they must need for the study of fatigue, fatigue strength, then fatigue limit, then the characteristics of fatigue, and so on. Thank you.